Hello, everybody. This is Brant Ashcroft, coming to you from McKinney, Texas, the great state of Texas. The CDC recently put out a report. It looks like on March 5th, so about a little less than a week ago, specifically in regards to issued mask mandates, state mask mandates, and on-premises dining. And I wanted to review that with everybody. There's probably some people have probably heard about this 1%, 2% benefit of mask comment, and I wanted to walk through that. But the first, I'm sharing my slides, and I'm just going to do it like this so that I can actually kind of show you with my cursor what I'm talking about. But this is basically the first. This is here's the CDC. This is just a screenshot. Here's the report. You can see who's all these PhDs here down here that are contributing to this report. And one of the slides that they share is this slide right here. And basically what it is it says, this is mask mandates. Basically they're saying from our analysis, we've looked at the data, and our mask mandates are, this is what we're seeing with mask mandates. And then on the right-hand side is indoor dining. So they're saying at this point in time, we did some analysis and we're showing that this is what's going on with indoor dining. The black line is the change in case growth rate, and the blue dotted line is the change in death growth rate. So this is basically the summary of their analysis here in these two charts, and I want to kind of walk through that with everybody. The first one, the mask mandates. So interesting, here you see this is the reference period. Basically, they're saying at this point, we looked at not all the data, we looked at the data that they are looking at, and we say, this is what happened with cases and deaths. Now, the issue with this is if you actually go to the report, what it says is per the CDC report, and I'm paraphrasing here because there's more that they say, but I'm just paraphrasing what they say. Basically, findings of report subject to limitations. The model does not control for many variables, and I put some of the ones down here that I could think of: seasonality, other precautions, because they're just looking at mask mandates and essentially saying, okay, the mask is causing this effect. But so that's what they're. So, but anyway, they're not controlling for many variables that we have, and this is the issue with all these studies. And you even go into the EU CDC and our CDC basically say, yeah, we can't control for all these variables, so we really can't give you a clear picture of what's going on. That's basically what they say in the reports. The EU, by the way, put out a report about 2 weeks ago, kind of going through the same analysis, and essentially said that these masks are they're low to moderate potential benefit, and the actual analysis is low to very low reliability, which basically compounds and says that we don't have any idea. But the second thing is basically they're not really measuring any compliance with enforcement of policies. And the issue there is in the real world, there's all kinds of variables. Like I said, one of them is how people wear the mask. And even if these masks do work, and I'll argue that they don't really work no matter what, but even if they work, how we wear them, how we use them, whether we're keeping them clean, et cetera, they're not measuring for that when they do these studies. The other interesting thing is when you look at this, basically what they're saying is, basically on our analysis that is flawed and full of errors and not reliable, the mask, we basically can find a 2% change in cases and deaths. So what that means is basically instead of having 100 infections, you have 98 infections. Okay, so think about that. It's not going down to like 50 infections or 75 or 85. They're saying going from 100 to 98. And it's actually probably, if you look at this too, it's actually probably even lower than 2%. It's probably 1.5%. I mean, there's some, it's, and this is, I do this for a living, and I can tell you how you can change these things to make it, look how you, I think in the end, they have, their boss wants an answer, and so they're going to give them the answer the boss wants. And I'll show you in the next slide, actually, where you can absolutely see that. But anyway, 2% change. So basically down from 100 to 98. Now, let me ask this question. Does that make you feel good about all the stuff we've been doing for the last year, 9 months to 12 months, mask, making our kids staying home from school, whatever social distancing means. I'm not even sure, 6 foot got pulled out of who knows where they just literally just made that up. I mean, does that make you feel good that we've basically done all this stuff, the trillions of dollars that are we're funneling back to, all these different groups, the fighting, et cetera, et cetera. So basically we're doing all that to go from 100 infections to 98. And I would argue that you need to have a confidence interval around that 98. So the confidence interval actually can only be 2% because you can only go up 2% or less than that, 1.5% maybe. So basically you're saying the confidence interval is probably maybe like, 96.5% up to 100% or something like that, 97 up to 100. So we're doing all this stuff for that very, very small benefit that we're not even really sure is helping. That's what it comes down to. And this next slide is even more egregious in my opinion, because this is about the indoor dining. So when you look at this, I mean, I'm not even going to go into the numbers, but look at that gap between change in case growth rate and change in death growth rate. So this is a perfect example of someone doing a graph that they're trying to get the answer their boss wants, because the change in, because here's think about this, the change in your case growth rate, your change in your death growth rate are highly correlated. If it goes up 1%, if your cases go up 1%, your deaths are going to go up 1%. If your cases go down 10%, your deaths are going to go down 10%. And there's a lag, it's timing and everything, but they're very highly correlated. So they're looking at specifically indoor dining, and think about all the variables with that. And they're saying, well, based on our analysis, the change in case growth rate is around 1%, but our change in death rate is 3%. How is that possible? That's a clear example of what I would call intellectual dishonesty. If I was doing this analysis, I would say, well, my boss wants this answer. Let me see what I can get, this is what my boss I think wants. And then you get to that answer and then you look at it and then you say, but wait a second, how can I have a 1% change in case growth rate and a 3% change in death growth rate for it attributed to indoor dining? That's ridiculous, completely ridiculous. I'm sorry, these people have PhDs and they're coming up with this nonsense. There's no answer to that question. How can they infer that it's maddening, and this is why people are so upset, because you see this and you say, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. Can we ask that question to the CDC? How come you can go from a 1% change in case growth rate to a 3% change in death growth rate attributed to indoor dining? Okay, so if I was in the indoor dining industry, I would be attacking these people relentlessly and asking them, how do you come up with that? So it's a 1% change, which is, again, based on how are they even coming up with these numbers? I mean, literally, how are they coming up with these numbers? It's 1%, and somehow they inflate it to 3% to make us feel like we're this is really something important we need to do. So guys, I'm sorry, but this is absolutely maddening. It's ridiculous. I can't even put words to what we're doing here. Okay. And it's clear, like I said, if you just look at this, I mean, if you can actually look at this with a critical eye, you would be asking these same questions. But people don't want to do that. They just want to say, oh, the CDC recommends mask. And you start looking at the information that they're putting out and you're like, but why are they recommending masks? You start asking those questions and then you get called, you don't believe in science. Guys, this is crappy science. I'm just telling you, this is crappy science. If I would love to talk to these people and explain and see their model, see how they came up with these numbers, and then ask them these questions, because it's clear that they're just coming up with some number that they deem to be what their boss wants to see.